Hey everyone, welcome to week 67. Today is Thursday, day 4. This is our 4th day on our further week. We've done well. I think we can do better. I'm noticing that even though I can try and believe that I can push further and my abilities, there's always going to be a wall, but we'll see how we're going to do today.
Okay, let's get started. This is day 4. This is Thursday. This is our 4th day on our ongoing further week. And our goal throughout this week has been to push even further. Further meaning going past those parameters that we've established as, this is my breaking point. Like, I am familiar with painting up until this point. But if I go past this line, if I cross this threshold, my painting is going to implode. The idea is to flirt with this disaster, your painting becoming something that feels foreign. Now, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing that this is not at all easy. At the beginning of the week, I had this urge, I had this drive to convince myself that I was going to be able to try and do things that are way, way off limits, even for me. I consider myself a painter that experiments quite a bit. I was saying during this week how when I speak about experimenting, I'm not talking about experimenting in terms of technique. I think I did, dozens of paintings years ago where I really, really delved into this rabbit hole of trying to understand technique. So I'm not going to say I checked that off my list, but nowadays, I'm just super interested in doing very basic fundamental painting. That's what I want to do. So in my mind, I'm not equating experimenting with just painting on super weird surfaces or substrates, or just trying to do alchemy with my paint, trying to do some really weird stuff like Nicola Samori, for example. I don't know. That's not in my wheelhouse. I don't know if I understand those sort of exercises, those sort of endeavors, as a way of breaking from whatever is holding me back. We all have different things that hold us back. I'm trying to identify what is it that is holding me back. And when I say holding me back, I'm not saying that this is the answer to becoming a great painter or the painter that other people will want me to be. No, probably not. If anything, I know that when I push, I'm probably going to disappoint a ton of people that like my work or that enjoy the more controlled examples of my work. But I think that that's what I envision when I say I want to break from certain things. In my path, in my journey, I think that I've always understood painting as having an anchor in classicism or naturalism or academy. However you want to understand these certain rules that ground you. And I do appreciate those rules. Like almost every single painter that I enjoy, when I think of those top 5 paintings that I've always mentioned to you guys, all those painters had a sense of discipline. It is part of the nature of their work to be disciplined. So I don't think I'll ever leave that behind. But I don't want it to become something that weighs me down. And many times, and I do feel it, I think that the responsibility that stems from naturalism is just this cross that I've convinced myself that I have to bear. And maybe it doesn't have to be that way. Maybe I can enjoy what I already know. And perhaps it is just up to me to encounter new opportunities and to carve new roads and to travel new paths. And that to me sounds incredibly exciting. It doesn't mean that at some point I can't come back to the places that are part of the fundamental makeup of my painting. No, maybe 10 years from now, I'm just going to be completely enthralled by making indirect paintings, and I'm going to do a super tight drawing and, an underpainting, and I'm going to paint, then I'm going to glaze. Who knows? Who knows what's in my future? Like, I can't assure anyone, let alone myself, that I know what my painting is going to be about in 10 years. All I know is that for me to keep going, for that fire in my belly to keep burning, I have to be excited about painting. I have to love painting. I have to enjoy painting. That's probably the most important aspect of my painting practice. I have to be challenged by it. It can't just be about making the same thing over and over again. And I pray to God that I'm not doing this during this project. But what I want is to find that sweet spot, and it's so difficult to find, where you feel uncomfortable, where you feel like you're challenging yourself, where you feel like you're doing something new, where you feel that you're constructing upon your strengths. So every attribute that you have in painting, every bit of understanding that you have of painting can be summoned upon in this very challenging exercise. And you're able to, I'm not going to say overcome it, because it's not about this feeling of being triumphant, of you as a painter having beaten this beast. No, it's not that. I think that at the end of every single day, the feeling that I have after I finish a painting is quite peaceful, if I have to say. I mean, the painting act itself could be incredibly chaotic, and I could be super nervous while I'm painting. But at the end, it's that feeling of just reaching that place where you can rest. It's this save point, and I think I'm making like a video game analogy, but it's almost like finally finding a bonfire in the Soul series. I hope somebody gets that, but I think that that's how I feel, like that it was a tough day, it was an exciting day. It proposed many challenges. It just put a ton of obstacles in my way, and I made my way through them. I don't know if gracefully, I don't know if I overcame them, I don't know if I did it super quickly. Those things don't matter. In the end, what's important is that I reached that place. And I think that that's how I've defined how it feels to be satisfied with painting. So it is really important for me because I don't have this personality where you can just put this absurd obstacle in front of me and I'm going to be super psyched. I'm just going to be full of energy and adrenaline. I'm not that type of person. Like, if you put a big enough obstacle in front of me, I'm going to be looking to the sides, just trying to find a way to go around it. I don't have a personality that loves to tackle these huge problems. I don't. I'm not going to say I shy away from them either, but I'm just like, yeah, I don't need to prove anything to myself or to anyone. So yeah, I'm not going to do this. So that's what I mean when I have to find like a sweet spot. I have to find this perfect balance of feeling like I am painting something that is going to challenge me. I'm going to paint something that it's exciting. I'm going to paint something that is going to make me travel through roads that are unexplored. But I also want to feel like I can depend on the knowledge that I have, rely on the experience that I have, and believe that with those tools, I'm going to be able to make it through. Because if not, if painting is just sacrifice upon sacrifice, defeat upon defeat upon defeat, that stuff wears you down. I know a ton of painters that are super, super strong-willed, that can carry all that weight. But honestly, for my peace of mind and for my understanding of painting as being something that makes me happy, that makes me whole, I can't take that bad of a beating every single day. That's going to eventually drive me away from painting. That's going to kill my spirit. Like I was saying at the beginning, my intent for this week was just to push so far, so ridiculously far, that I realized while I was painting that I don't know how to push as far as I would want to push. I just don't, because these things are unknown. When I tell myself I want to travel to unknown universes through my painting, I want to see if I can solve things in new ways. Well, I also realize that the knowledge that I have is maybe going to be useless in those instances. That the way I understand painting, the way I define painting, will only take me so far. So this week has been kind of leveling for me. It has been humbling for sure, because it has taught me that it's not enough to just say, I'm going to do this. Your chest is puffed and your chin is up and you tell yourself, I'm going to go further. And you're just building yourself up, fueling yourself with courage. And the reality is that I wish it was just about attitude, but it's not. It's super hard. And this week for me is telling me, the lesson behind all of this is that I need time. I was saying how I can find a way to walk around these obstacles that painting can throw in my way. If they're too big and if I feel that I can't really overcome them, I'll find a way to walk around them. I'll dig underneath them. I'm kind of scrappy, so I'll find a way. But you can't find a way around time. When you realize that you need experience, that you need a bunch of paintings that are going to become your experience, when you realize that you need those, there is nothing that can replace that. That's one of the things that we as painters, and I totally get it. We are in a bad place and we are frustrated and we're depressed and our paintings are not at the level that we want them to be and we're not able to communicate what we want to communicate, it is debilitating. It is demoralizing. And I know that we want to believe that at those points there is like this little pill that we can take and it'll make everything fine and it will just rush everything. And we want to believe that if we had the opportunity to just speed things up, to just make things easier, or to listen to that one thing that we need to listen to, and it's going to open all these doors that were initially shut for us, then and only then we are going to be able to overcome all these unsurmountable tasks that we see in front of us. But that's a lot of ifs, and I usually run away from that. Whenever my mind is, oh, if I only had this level of ability, or, oh, if I only had this amount of discipline, or, oh, if I only had these materials, these brushes, these paints, these substrates. Whenever my mind gets to that very dark place, because it's a really, really dark place, I book it. I run to the opposite direction because that place is not healthy. So for me, these exercises have been really amazing at teaching me that I may want to push further, but my own painting is not going to let me go farther than what I'm supposed to go. My own painting is telling me, you can only do this much. Because if you want to go further, you're probably going to need dozens of paintings to earn yourself the right to go a little bit further. And I know that that may sound disheartening, but it's actually pretty awesome. Painting is telling you there is a way out. You just need to reflect more and you just need to paint more. That's all there is to it. And I know nobody likes to hear those things, that you need to work harder and you need to work more conscientiously. But it's the truth. So during this week, when I understood that I don't know if I'm going to be able to just brute force my way into pushing further, I realized, okay, let's try to make these exercises a bit more manageable. And I noticed that I could start by reflecting upon form, very fundamental qualities of form. And what I did was I started focusing in on edges, on edge work. And I think that started with Giacometti's painting on Tuesday. Because I realized with that painting that I wasn't really painting Giacometti. At some point, I was like, okay, Giacometti, you were my starting point. You were my catalyst for this exercise, but I may have left you behind like an hour into the painting. And I felt guilty at first. And then I was like, you know what? Who cares? Like, it's a painting. A painting is a painting is a painting. So just keep going and pay attention to what you're doing and let's see where it takes you. And that's actually super, super exciting. So it started with Tuesday's painting. And I think with Mike's painting yesterday, it was just fun. I often say this, I risk sounding like a broken record, but I try to find in other painters the courage that I don't have, the strength that I don't possess. So when I think of Mike, when I think of Mignola's work, honestly, it gives me enough energy for 100 lifetimes. Like if I wanted to learn all that I could learn from Mike's work, oh my God, it would take me years and years and years. And that may seem like something that's too much, but to me that sounds amazing because what I see, what I envision when I realize that the road is going to be super long is that there is a road. And that's amazing. Like there is a path. You can see this path in front of you. I mean, it's going to be thousands of miles long, but there's a path there. You suddenly found a road that is worth traversing. And that's awesome because it gives you purpose. So as soon as I dumbed it down for myself and I told myself, concentrate on form and concentrate on edge work. And I realized that while I was asking myself those things, this very beautiful act of simplification was happening. And I was like, okay, this is super, super interesting. So for example, for today's painting of Vuillard, I've talked about him a bunch in other videos. You guys have heard me say that I don't think we have scratched the surface of how good Vuillard is. I think it's going to be years until we realize and rediscover the genius that he was. And perhaps when we look at his work with new eyes, it's going to provide us with years, decades of energy to tackle painting in wonderful ways. What I wanted to do for today, and of course this is building on Mike's painting yesterday and Mike's philosophy when he's designing, and certainly this is very much so part of Vuillard as a painter. It was just about simplification. It was just about shapes. I'm sure you guys could tell at the beginning that for my block-in, I pretty much did a rectangle. It was just a very simple rectangle. And the whole painting session, it was about me trying to hold on to the idea of a rectangle while also trying to model this portrait. So I went back to the primary color palette, to the gaudy primary color palette that we used a week ago. It was super helpful for today's painting. And again, just clinging on to that idea of a rectangle for as long as I could. And when I thought that the idea of a rectangle was too abstract, I started to introduce the notion of edge work and how things could very slightly bleed into each other. And today's painting was just incredible to do. It's just incredible to try and untangle and unravel and try to solve in a very, very simple way. I mean, if I look at Vuillard, he did it 1,000 times simpler. And I don't want to beat myself up for not being capable of doing it like Vuillard did, being unable to access that level of simplicity. No, because like I said, I have my own boundaries and I have to accept those. And it's going to take time for me to overcome them. But what I can tell myself is that I have found a road that is going to help me overcome them. And that is super cool. That's going to be it for today. Join us tomorrow where we finish off this week. I'm going to try to tackle a painter that I've never painted before. Her work is pretty amazing. Her work is really enigmatic for me. I think that her portrait work lies a little bit beyond what I feel comfortable doing, but I know that she can be my guide. So it's going to be really fun to try and paint her tomorrow. But that's going to be tomorrow. So I'll see you guys. Love you. Thank you guys for hanging out. Bye.